I wanted to talk to you guys today about the power of going to a silent retreat and my experiences that I just had recently. I thought I would do it in a video that I can just share in multiple places because I was going to really want to update my newsletter list, Facebook group, and I also feel like it would be really helpful to some people who might find this on YouTube as well. So recently, before my birthday, I was gifted a 3-day silent meditation retreat by a beautiful soul sister. And we actually did it together, booked a hotel room, and, we followed an online teacher's um, platform and how they would like instructing us to do it. And we really immersed ourselves into it. I was really nervous, confronted, excited, all things beforehand because I was thinking to myself, I talk a lot. I talk in many of these videos. I talk with my clients. I create content. I am a chatterbox. When it comes to archetypes, I have the storyteller archetype. So I can't just tell someone something. I have to tell them the beginning, the middle, and the end. And yes, that can be a bit of annoying, but that's just an aspect and one of my main archetypes, and it's very much who I am. So the thought of being silent, I really didn't know if I was going to climb the walls, if I was going to, climb out of my skin. I didn't know what to expect. And I wanted to share my personal experience and then also why I think it's so powerful. So the keeping silent is actually the easiest part for me. I found it something that we could really stick to with ease. I didn't really find myself going to speak too often. We did have a piece of paper where we had to write some logistic notes about cooking and a few different things of a nighttime or just anything instructional. And that was the only form of communication, which was a few jotted notes, a piece of paper over 3 days. So what I noticed and what I think is the most profound about these silent retreats is how much it makes you and forces you to push through the resistance and be wholeheartedly in the present now. So my resistance came up with my physical body. I was deeply uncomfortable and in quite a bit of pain at different times. So even though they talk you through at the beginning about how the different ways you can move and stand and all those other different things, I was not able to sit on the hard floor, even with a pillow underneath me. So I created on a firm lounge a way of keeping my back dead straight. And literally, we would sit for 2 hours. Meditation at a time. Sometimes there was some prompting and talking in there and the guiding of it, but it was 6 hours worth of meditating a day, broken up into 3 different lots. So I was just like, what? And you want me to sit for this long? And it was really fascinating. The first day I was so irritated with his voice because I realized on my phone, when it comes to listening to people, I've actually started to speed them up because I have lots of things that I want to do in a day. There's multiple people I'm learning from. There's multiple friends I'm talking to. And if I can listen to a friend in 2 minutes instead of 4 minutes, I'm saving myself 2 minutes by putting them on 1.5 and speeding them up. Would that be saving myself 1 minute? Maths is not a strong point. But I I'm so used to speaking to people and sorry, listening to people fast these days. It's just how I consume knowledge now. And I couldn't speed this man up, and he spoke quite deliberately and thoughtfully and slowly. And oh my gosh, drove me crazy. So there was a lot of frustration in that first little bit, and it was 100% my ego. And then, the first day was just deep discomfort. But the second day, I really started to have really interesting things happen because I haven't meditated long term in a long time. In 2012, 13, and 14, I used to regularly, once a week more, go to meditation groups, and you would meditate for an hour minimum. And I also had my own meditation practices. Usually it was about, I don't know, 15 to 30 minutes. I would just kind of drift in the nothingness of meditating. And side note here, it took me a good 6 months of attempting to meditate weekly before I could kind of successfully quieten my mind to be present. So anybody who is a little bit like me, it's like, oh, I can't meditate. My mind just doesn't allow me. It's like anything, you have to train for it if you're not naturally inclined. You're not going to expect yourself to be able to operate a giant big machine without lessons and being training and being disciplined about doing it. It's no use reading the pamphlet, trying it once, getting your license, and then coming back 6 months later and still being able to, remember the booklet and everything. So please, if you've ever, wanted to meditate, that struggle with it. It took me 6 months, but stick with it. So back to my stories. Here's my little storyteller going. The thing is, I'm actually quite good at when the thoughts come up, and someone once said, just like, see it like you're pushing a cloud aside, just gently wafting it. So I had no like mental chatter of like, stop doing that, or nothing. I was really good, and I would get to go quite deep. But I had some very physical activations in the chakra and third eye. I just haven't had the discipline to meditate long term for nearly a decade. So I didn't know what to expect. And so I felt like this full on blast of energy down into my crown chakra, and I got the full on worst vertigo of my life. I tried to stand up, and like the room was spinning almost like a movie reel. And I was like, what? And then I got a little bit of nausea. And I just had the intuitive kind of things. I pressed my eyeballs into my skull, and that kind of stopped the spinning, but I still felt, really oncus. We went about our different things, and then with the next meditation later on, I this time had like flashes of light, even though my eyes were shut, flashes of light going sideways. And you can't help it when things happen like this. At times your logical brain's trying to like come up with a reason. That's its job, your brain's job. So I'm like, oh, there must be a bird or somebody on the balcony or veranda, making movement, and it's the sunlight. And I cracked my eyes open, and of course we've shut all the blinds and have candles on. There's no light that it could possibly be. So I then had quite a severe headache, and I'm just like fully in my resistance and my discomfort, and I wasn't really able to get into it any deeper because my discomfort was just so present that that's took up my present now moment. And the next day I'm like, okay, why is this happening? And I just had this intuitive thought come through, because I'm on the lounge and I can't sit on the floor and really have my sit bones and pelvis and perineum like really embedded into the ground. I'm probably not as grounded as I'm supposed to be, chakra wise, and really rooted in. So I had the thought, have you got a smoky quartz? And there wasn't one on the altar we created. So I'm like, oh. And then I thought, just check your handbag. And I had my favorite little piece of smoky quartz. So I held that. And for the remainder of it, yes, I would still get flashes of light. And it was almost like trying to make sacred geometry imagery, and weird stuff was happening. But I didn't have the vertigo and I didn't have the headache come through. It was just some kind of weird um, third eye something was activating. It was also at this time that let me just clear my throat. It was also at this time that I started to really just have the most profound synchronicities between, like, I pulled some cards from some card decks I bought. There's my archetype ones, which I use for doing the archetype readings. But then I also bought a Earth Warrior one from Alana Fairchild. And like, I can't make this up. It was so eerily accurate with like what I was going to experience. And then also um, the epiphanies and things that I have and the things that were shown to me. And then also he would say stuff which was like tied in with the reading, just tied in with my thoughts. And I was just like, this is just incredible. And when actually on I think it was the third day or the second day, and in the afternoon lot, I got the chaos card, which is lightning, which is, like storm in a teacup, something sudden and chaotic kind of energy. And that's what that card represents. And I thought to myself, that's odd because, I can't really understand what kind of chaos I'm going to have. I'm going to be sitting on the chair meditating. And I just kind of thought, oh, well, I must be going to have some kind of a big epiphany. But the fire alarm went off as we were meditating for the whole place. And but it said, and just as that's happening, the man's talking about embers of the heart. So he's talking about fire and igniting in the heart, and the fire alarms are going off. And it was just really just the whole synchronicities of it. But it's the lady's voice, that's the computer's voice, was saying, please wait for further information. So we didn't feel like there was anything serious. No one else was making a sound. There was no sounds of footsteps. There was no smell of smoke. So we just sat there and kept meditating. And I was actually, in hindsight, I'm actually kind of really proud of how we handled that, because we just like we kept going. And so the things that I really found really quite profound was some of the big lessons that I have been understanding and learning about myself over the last 12 months. It's like by going into silence, a deeper final layer was revealed. So here's an example. I know I've talked in a Facebook group. I'm not sure if it's any in the videos on YouTube, but I don't mind sharing my stuff, vulnerability and raw, and being honest. So in January, I had a lot of realizations that I was saying I was going to do things and not following through with them. And that was creating a lack of sovereignty and a lack of self integrity within myself. And what that was doing was creating the frequency of incongruency. I was lying to myself and lying out loud, saying I was going to do something and then not follow through and do it. And I'm still working through and clearing that. And I'm being really careful and intentional with not speaking these lies out if I'm not intending to do them, and much, much better at it. But I saw this extra layer to it because the gentleman was talking about self-love and how much do you love yourself. Now, I've done a tremendous amount of work over the last 14 years, 12 years, 12 years, um, to be able to say wholeheartedly that I love myself. I love me. I'm extraordinarily comfortable in my skin. I am an awesome person. I love every aspect of my archetypes. I love being of service. I just love me. And then I realized that by not keeping my word to myself and by speaking lies to myself and not following through, I actually lost a little bit of respect for myself. And I didn't even see that. So I realized that on my subconscious level, there was some stuff that needed reprogramming. Now, I had this epiphany with 2 or 3 different things, and I won't go into them because it'll end up being way too long. But that was like that final layer, and I really, by being in silence, was able to see, feel, experience these deep, deep, deep subconscious thoughts and beliefs that I didn't even know was there. And for that fact alone, I would highly recommend anyone do a 3-day or more silent retreat. And I do think that you need to do at least 3 days, because it was not really until the 3rd day that I really went deep into grace. The first 2 days was really about peeling back all of the resistance and all of the other different things. And the 3rd day, I just accepted it. You got pain in your body here and there, but hang on, we're having this thought. The other thing that I realized is I had a realization of some karma that I had kind of experienced, done some stuff as a child, which then created a karmic pattern. And I'm like, okay, I need to clear that. I'd never even seen that before. Thank you for showing me that. So that was another aspect to learning all of this. And then I also had the epiphany, backed up by the cards and by everything, that my trip to Peru and Bolivia, I wasn't actually supposed to go at the time that I did. Now, I laughingly tell people that it was my unwanted and unasked for pilgrimage. But they just showed me that, like, I already had lessons in faith and trust, and I was really in a lot of trust. Then I had this big lesson with that, and it shook my trust. And they were showing me that I actually had already learned that lesson, but because I didn't listen to my intuition and because I pushed myself to go and I just wanted to have some fun because I earned it and all these other different things, but I wasn't listening to the spirit of the signs. I just wanted to be a normal human and have fun, and but I've done enough work upon myself now. You can't ignore spirit, and I shouldn't have. So I went over there wanting to have fun and explore and everything be, fun. And it ended up having like all these tests. And they showed me that what I'd done is, by not listening, I'd actually had to redo something I'd already learned. And it was really interesting how to really see how we can have these lessons and you can learn them. But if you're not vigilant, you can actually activate the lesson again. And it's requiring me to do some more subconscious reprogramming. So I am doing that every single day, and I'm feeling amazing, and this is what I just think is the most profound thing of all, is to really see thyself, to know thyself, and in silence go really, really, really deep. So that is my recommendation, my experience. There is probably way more that I can tell, but this is already going quite long. And I also want to use this opportunity to tell you guys about some stuff that I've been inspired to do. So I'm going to do a meditation series. So it's going to be 4 meditations each Friday night, and it's going to be called the Infinite Heart series. And it's only going to be $27 Australian. So it's going to be on the April the 12th, 19th, 26th, and May the 4th. And this is of course 2024. But I'm going to keep this on YouTube. And if you're listening to this in the future and you really want to know more about the Infinite Heart series, once it's all done, I'm going to create a package with the 4 for $27 and just leave it down below, so it'll be available for all time. I'm really excited about this series. Started to download some of the ideas for it, but those who come to my meditations more often will know that a lot of the time I go into channel space and I'm surprised at what comes through. But I was so inspired because throughout the 3 days, he would quite often ask, "Who are we?" and to really focus in on the heart. And the heart really was such a profound doorway for me, looking even deeper. So each of the 4 weekly meditations is going to have a different theme of working with the heart. And I'm just really, really excited about it. So I'll put the link and everything down below, and I hope that you feel guided to come along and participate if you see this while we're still doing it, or to check it out when you see it in the future. I'm going to end it with, if you have stuff that is going on in your life and at any stage you have felt called to do a silent meditation retreat, and we had we did some yoga, and we did other things that were involved in it. It was a set program, but it was mainly meditation based. I just highly recommend it. And I actually feel like in the future, I might just do this for myself and book myself into a hotel for 3 days or 4 days. Don't say anything to anyone, meditate a lot, take my cards, journal, and be profoundly comfortable in the silence. But if you've ever thought about doing it, if the opportunity comes up, because spirit's pretty cool. And I always say that the universe and God Goddess has a fabulous sense of humor. And after you watch this, you might start seeing invitations to silent retreats, or you'll start to think about it, and then one comes up in 6 months' time. And I just highly recommend it. If you have any questions about anything logistic wise of how I experienced it, felt, or anything else like that, I'm always incredibly honest with people. Some of the pros and cons and everything. And I've been fairly in depth here, but I can't tell you 3 days worth of stuff. But if you ever want some more, you can always reach out on Instagram or Facebook, and I can send you some voice pop answers if you have any questions about it. I hope you found this interesting. Please go and do a silent meditation retreat at some stage. And also, please come and do the meditation series with me. I 4 meditations for $27 is a bargain, and I really want I'm going to really set some profound intentions for this series to be quite deep and to really be quite powerful, connecting it, with your heart to really work through different stuff. So I'm extraordinarily excited about it. So I will see you in a future video at some stage.